Hey y'all, it's your girl Barbie J here. Welcome to my channel, June BLC. Hey there everybody, it's your girl Barbie J here with the recap and review of Tyler Perry's comedy drama, Sistas, Season 9, Episode 2, Do No Harm. And I'm going to tell y'all straight up right now, I did not like this episode. And I'm not saying it because of the acting and all that stuff, but it just messed me up the way those people was treating Karen in that hospital, because the whole episode was in the hospital dealing with Karen and the terrible service she was getting from these doctors and nurses who've taken these oaths that they would help others, and it just got under my skin. Not to mention that I don't even like hospitals, and I can't take childbirth. When I see pictures of childbirth and films with childbirth, I turn away, I close my eyes. Some people do that for scary movies. I do that for childbirth. It's scary to me. I'll be honest. Yes, I have children, but it was not a walk in the park. My whole experience wasn't a picnic, but it wasn't like this. I tell you right now, it was not like this. So, before we get started with my 2 cents on this recap and review, if you are new here or if you're returning here and have not subscribed to my channel as of yet, please take a moment right now, hit that subscribe button, then hit the notification bell and select all. It'll tell you every time I upload any new content to this channel. And you want to know when I upload stuff because you want to support my channel, right? So I had asked that you smash that like button for the video, write a comment and join the conversation, and share the video because sharing is caring, and it'll help me build my channel back up because I have been away for a while in the process of doing something. So my viewership has fallen off and now I have to rebuild it. But I'm also going out of town again on vacation. So I won't even be able to see it because I'll be in another country trying to watch these shows, and that's not going to happen. So you won't even get any videos from me in the next 2 weeks after this, and there will not be any lives, I don't think. I mean, unless I'm able to do one from the ship, but I will be in another country, so that might be a bit difficult. So anyway, this episode starts off with Sabrina in her car, stuck in traffic, talking to Maurice on the phone, telling him what happened with Rich and Penelope and everything. And he's giving his little 2 cents about it and making us laugh and stuff. And Sabrina's not happy about it. Meanwhile, somebody's honking behind her saying, move, drive, drive. It's come to find out the person behind her is Danny. And Danny gets out of her car mad that the person in front of her ain't moving, not realizing that it's Sabrina. And she told her, you know what? You never knew how to drive in the first place. So she said that she's out of here. So she went back and got in her car. And somehow she drove around that traffic. I don't know what she did. They didn't show it. But let me tell you, she got to that hospital before Sabrina did. That's for sure. Anyway, back at the hospital, we have Fatima, Aaron, Miss Lisa, and they all around Karen and stuff. Fatima's trying to find help, trying to get somebody because she's not liking what's happening. Karen's in all this pain, feverish, and all of this stuff. She feel like she's throwing up. She's feeling like she wet herself, and come to find out it's blood. Fatima's looking for help. And at this point, we have Zach and Andy showing up, and she's updating them a little bit on what's happening. And they said they're going to go to the room and see Karen. She's still looking, and Fatima's still looking for help. While Fatima's still looking for help, we have Danny showing up. Danny shows up, and she runs into Nurse Ratchet, not very nice. And Danny was just like, you going to make me come behind that desk. She had that attitude like, why don't you be nice and do your job and all this stuff? You know what I mean? The lady was really stanky, and we know which nurse that was. And while Danny is dealing with Nurse Ratchet, overcomes Fatima, telling her we need help in room 114, Karen Mott, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, she said it's an emergency. Oh, everybody here is an emergency. She's not very helpful at all. And she claims that she was going to call the doctor and let the doctor know. But like Danny said, how much you want to bet she don't do nothing? Because she walked away. So now here's where I get confused because Fatima says, here's her room right here. She tells Danny that. Here's her room right here. But the next scene, you see Fatima walking around again and she finds the black nurse. I don't know what her name is. If anybody knows, put it down in the comment section. But anyway, then the black nurse says she'll go and help her, and she goes with Fatima to the room. When they get to the room, there's no Danny. Danny's not in there. So I'm like, what happened to Danny when she was supposed to be right there by the room? So the nurse is, working with Danny, and she's telling them that they all have to get out while she checks on her. And that's when Danny comes in. And Karen says, can my sister stay? So she calls Danny her sister. And so Andy, Fatima, Aaron, Miss Lisa, and Zach all have to leave out of the room. And the nurse says that's fine. And she checks Karen out while Danny is there saying, squeeze as hard as you have to. Don't worry about it. I'm here with you, blah, blah, blah. But I'm confused as to where was Danny all this time when she was supposed to be right there by Karen's room. That's all I'm saying. How they put the clips together, I guess they messed up in the order that they put everything. So when the nurse is in there, though, she's saying, I apologize that nobody has been here to check on you. She doesn't like what she's been seeing since working here. She finds that there's a certain demographic that's often underserved. And Andy's like, oh, you mean black people? And the nurse doesn't answer her and stuff. But I'm like, watch how you talk to the black nurse, Andy, because she's the only one in there trying to help Karen. But the nurse did say she tries to do her best to counteract every chance she can, you know what I mean? And look out for her people. And kudos to the black nurse. That's all I got to say. So now we have Sabrina finally showing up to the hospital, and she mad at Danny for leaving her, and Danny's looking at her like she cuckoo crazy. So Sabrina asks everybody what's going on with Karen and the baby so she could be filled in. Meanwhile, back at Karen's room, Dr. McStupid, who doesn't care about his patients. And I hope it's not that he just don't care about the black patients, because the way he's treating her, maybe he didn't get hugged enough when he was younger by his mama. It might be something like that. He might be traumatically, I don't even know how he's over that department because the way he's telling her, oh, it's labor. What did you think it was going to be easy? And Andy and Zach are not cool with the way he's talking to her. Like, buckle up, buttercup. It's only going to get worse from here. And it's like, why would you say that? She know what's happening with her body. And Zach's like, yo, I'm going to need you to take this a little bit more serious. Oh, what are you, one of the fathers? What difference does that make? Well, y'all need to get out of here so I can check the patient. So Zach is like, I'll be right out here waiting. And Andy's like, I'm taking notes because I know good and well they're going to end up suing this hospital down the road. And so he's checking Karen because she told him to go ahead and leave out. But she's in pain. And she's like, ow, that hurt. Oh, that hurt. I'm in pain, all this stuff. And the doctor's like, all of this is normal. You're having twins. Nothing here is unusual. The pain, the blood pressure, the fever. I'm like, this guy is ridiculous. I don't know how he even have a license to be a doctor. But somebody did tell me mention something about this doctor is supposed to be married to a black woman, so that doesn't mean that he's racist because he has a black wife. I was like, maybe that black wife getting on his nerve and he taking it out on all the black patients. Who knows? But I don't know what about that. But hopefully we'll see and find out some more in next week's episode. So Miss Lisa goes back in the room while the doctor's in there, and she lets him know how she feels that he's ignoring her pain and her nausea. He hasn't given her anything for it, and she says she's tired of him not paying attention to her daughter. And he said, well, this is labor, and it's not meant to be easy, especially in a rare case like this with twins from two different fathers. What the F? What does two different fathers have to do with the twins and the pain that she is going through? He's making this observation. It's an attack on black people is what it is. It's an attack on young black people. That's what he's doing. And if you don't notice that, you have to be blind. Stevie Wonder could see this and hear it. It's what is happening right here. What this man is saying. He is showing us who he is and how he feels about black people. And I'm saying on black people based on the demographic comment that the black nurse made. But Miss Lisa told him, ish happens. Move forward and help my daughter. Stop with that. So Karen lets the doctor know that she read up on this stuff. She prepared herself for childbirth. And she said, none of these symptoms I'm having came up in the book at all. And then Miss Lisa was like, I've had a child and I haven't experienced anything like this. He said, well, if I may be blunt, your body is built for childbirth. Miss Mott here is petite and ill-equipped for two babies. What the hootie and the blowfish? What? You know what I mean? Small people have twins or whatever. Come on. He's just being ridiculous. And sometimes doctors do not like to be questioned. Doctors do not like to be put on the spot where a patient might know a little bit more than the doctor thinks they know, and they trying to make the patient or whoever feel like they're stupid and don't know what they're talking about. Because I've experienced that when my sister was in the hospital having a baby, and I started questioning the doctor about his ethics and things that he was doing. They didn't like it. But you have to be on top of your care, because some of these doctors don't know what they're doing. They don't care. And then they don't get in trouble. When they mess up sometimes, they really don't get in trouble all the time. They'll put it on you and make it seem like it's your fault. Anyway, Karen's noticing that she don't hear her babies on the monitor. He said this one is malfunctioning. They're going to bring her a new one. Then we see Fatima out in the waiting room. She sees a black doctor. She runs over there to him and asks him, can he come in the room and check on her? Fatima tells him that Dr. Cruz is her doctor and that he's horrible. She lets him know all of Karen's symptoms and stuff. And he said he will take a look at her. And his name is Dr. Vaughn. So he gets into Karen's room, and Nurse Rhonda, that's her name, Nurse Rhonda is in there. And she's glad to see him. And they talking, looking at the paperwork and stuff. And he said, let's get an ultrasound in there. They get an ultrasound in there. And they're listening to the baby's heartbeats and I guess looking at them. And you see Nurse Rhonda's face is like, something's up. And she's like, what's going on? She said, I want to see my babies. And he said, let me consult with Dr. Cruz first. I'll be right back. And Nurse Rhonda doesn't respond either. She's like, just let's get you cleaned up. And she doesn't answer Karen. But somebody tell me why Aaron is just standing there and not saying something to them. Look, I want to know what's going on. Somebody tell me something. He's very quiet. And like I said, he ain't praying. He should be praying the whole time. Why isn't the preacher praying? Why isn't he at the hospital chapel praying? Show us something. I mean, what's the use of him being a preacher if he don't even carry a Bible? I'm just saying, sorry. It could be an electronic one on his phone. I don't know. He could be reading her some Bible verses, something. Lord Jesus, help her. So anyway, Dr. Vaughn catches up with Dr. Cruz, and he tells him that he did an ultrasound, and he's like, that's my patient. He said, well, I was asked to do a consult. And he says, you're only a fourth-year resident. And he's like, what does that matter? And Dr. Cruz said, because it's a waste of hospital resources. And that she's experiencing normal labor. And Dr. Vaughn said, there is nothing normal about her labor. He said, and when I did an ultrasound, I was only able to detect one heartbeat, and that the other seems to be stillborn. And Dr. Cruz is telling him that he's overstepped and that Miss Mott is his patient. He said, then help your patient. I said, oh, tell him, baby, tell him. Meanwhile, Sabrina came from the bathroom and she's hearing all of this. So she's behind the wall listening to everything, and she runs back and tells everybody in the waiting area what's happening, and she's like flustered and upset about it. But also, Dr. Vaughn told Dr. Cruz that Karen needs antibiotics and an emergency C-section. And he said that all explains the preterm labor, the fever, and the hemorrhaging she's going through. And so Dr. Cruz is thinking, oh, she could withstand labor and everything, and she'll be fine or something like that. And Dr. Vaughn is like, no, you're wrong. This is wrong. And then Dr. Cruz is like, do I need to remind you of my position here? And Dr. Vaughn said, what about your Hippocratic oath to do no harm, doctor? Your action could kill her. And he's like, I know what I'm doing. So Dr. Vaughn said, great. So then if you know if a dead fetus remains in the womb for too long, it causes sterility, organ failure, and death for the mother, and risk to the surviving fetus. And she cannot be allowed to go through a vaginal delivery because there's not enough time. And so Dr. Cruz brushed him off and said he needs to worry about his own patients. Miss Mott is his responsibility or something like that. So now Sabrina's back over at the waiting room and she's telling them everything. And Zach walks over just in time for him to hear that she could die. And he's like, what's going on? What's going on? Nobody want to say anything. And then Fatima takes him over to the side and tells him about the one of the babies didn't make it and Karen could possibly die. And Zach starts crying and falling apart. And kudos to Duvall. He was playing that scene. He was so emotional, the tears in the eyes, the falling over. He has gotten truly remarkable at these emotional scenes. And then we see Sabrina down on her knees praying, to God to help Karen and be there for her. So hopefully at some point we'll see Aaron the preacher doing the same. So now we see Sabrina and Andy, they talking to Dr. Vaughn, and he's telling them he can't do anything because he was told by his attending physician not to intervene. So he told them Miss Mott would have to file a formal complaint and ask for her doctor to be switched. Meanwhile, Sabrina's begging him, and he's like, I can't do anything. I could lose my job. I could lose my medical license. And Andy had to tell her, stop. He already helped us. What do you think this man gonna lose his job and his livelihood just because of Karen? He can't do that. But he does go to Karen's room and let her know that he suspects that one of the babies have died and that the death occurred in the last 24 hours. And Karen's like, I knew something was wrong. I kept saying something didn't feel right. And she starts crying and everything. And I appreciated and loved how the doctor was letting Karen know this was not your fault. There's so many things that could have happened, complications that could have caused this to happen, like the umbilical cord around the baby's neck or something like that. So, she was crying. She wasn't hearing it, but at least Miss Lisa heard it. And she understood and appreciated him coming in there. So he left out, and then Andy and Sabrina came in, and they told them, we need Karen to switch the doctors. And Karen's crying. She's not hearing it. But Aaron hears it, and Miss Lisa hears it. And they're like, yeah, they agree. They all agree. Then in comes Dr. Cruz. And they tell him they know what's going on. And he's like, oh, women deliver stillborn babies every day. And Aaron jumped up and said, what the F? And Andy's like, are you insane? They were like, are you for real now? And Andy laid into him about the health to Karen. And she said, we want to switch to Dr. Vaughn as the physician on record now. And he's like, I'm chief of obstetrics. You want to replace me with a fourth-year resident? And Sabrina said, we want to replace you with somebody who actually cares. And so he said it would have to come from the patient. And they were urging Karen, please, baby, please, say it. And she shook her head. So that's all she could do because she was crying and stuff. So they said, there you have it. And Miss Lisa told him to get the F out. And he said, fine. He said, I have other patients to take care of anyway. Have a good day. And when he left out of Karen's room, they all standing out there. And Fatima said, karma's a biatch. And Danny said, and I'm worse than karma. I was like, they are serious, boy. He better be watching his back leaving out that hospital. So Dr. Cruz finds Dr. Vaughn and says, you've been requested on the Mott case, but just know you haven't heard the end of this. So we all know he going to end up making Dr. Vaughn's life a living HELL. You know it. So then Dr. Vaughn comes into the room and says, I heard that you requested me to be your doctor. So he tells how he feels about what he's seen. He's concerned about her low heart rate and all of that stuff. And he tells her he wants to have an emergency C-section. Only 2 people could remain in the room right now. So Karen asked Aaron and her mother to leave. She needs to talk to her girls. And she told them that she is scared and to promise her that they will take care of her baby and her mother. And that if anything happens to her and there's a chance to save both of those babies, to choose them and not her. And they were crying like, no. I got to tell y'all, this scene had me going. Everybody had tears running down. They have all grown in their acting skills, being able to do some, do crying. Remember that scene when they thought Karen was in that the fire in her salon and how everybody's doing the fake tears and crying? Today, them tears were flowing. They are so much better and growing. But Karen always was a great actress. I thought she was always one of the best on the show. And she has been playing her part this whole time. So kudos to Ebony Obsidian, I'll tell you, because she is doing it. So as they're crying, they're telling her they're not going to have to make that decision. That's not what's going to happen. Everything's going to be fine. Everything's going to be okay. And she's like, please, please. And the next thing you know, she passes out. And they're sitting there going, Karen, Karen, and you're gonna shake her. I'm like, what are you shaking her? Help! Somebody help! I'm like, why don't somebody go to the door, open it, and say help? Okay? Why are you screaming help behind a closed door in a hospital room? You know what I mean? So that's how it went off. Y'all let me know what y'all thought about this episode. I mean, I like the episode of them all being there and showing the love between everybody. That part really touched me. But I just don't like hospitals and hospital scenes and shows like that. So that's why I didn't like this episode as much as I would have loved to like it. If you know what I mean, if you understand. So I'll see you all in the next video. Please do not forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. It's your girl Barbie J saying peace.